policy and a financial aid enrollment audit. So this grid right here is the first thing you will find on our website. If you go to the registrar website, and I put this reference at the end of the presentation, and click on faculty. This is now the first little grid that's going to show up there, and every term, this is one of the first things we update. So here we're basically saying that for attendance, trends, flags, your student performance roster, they're available Monday the 26th of August. There's no deadline. Administrative withdrawal, that deadline is the 4th of October. So I guess my slide saying mid-October is a little misleading. It's early October. So we'll have to fix that up. It's early October. And then for the attendance for our enrollment audit, October 4th is also the day. So we're going to basically go from whatever the Monday of the 5th week of classes to October 4th, collecting all the information and then processing it. Does that help? Okay, so here's the general information. I think you all know there's a link from OnCourse, which is probably what most of you use. If not, there's also a way to get there from OneStart, but I know that we are very much an OnCourse campus. One thing I did want to mention to you, which was something that we did change at one point, you can go into that roster and save and save and save like we're all used to. It'll keep what you've saved, but of course it hasn't gone anywhere yet. Not until you hit that submit button does it come to us, does it go to the student in the My Grades page, so you can keep up with it and submit it whenever you feel like you've completed that version of the roster for that period. So how many of you have used the student performance roster? Look, I'm out. Oh, excellent. Yes, you guys are good. Okay, so then you're familiar with this. I'm not going to get... The first thing that comes up if you haven't done anything yet is please update. So that's what you'll see the first time. If you have submitted it once, you're going to see a last submitted date there. So you will be able to see the last time you submitted a student performance roster, which was also something. So please update the last date it was updated, or if you're really anxious, it might not be there and we'll tell you when it's going to be available. You're familiar with the student summary tab versus the assessment tab. You can either do it in mass or by individual student. Here's one thing I want to make sure everybody knows, because this was another thing that was added at one point, especially if you're teaching a large class. We do not default anything in anymore, but we've given you the option, if you've got 30 people in your class and you want to report on 2 of them, everybody else is doing just fine, don't forget to just set that attendance value to attending, and then go change the 2 that aren't attending very well to, they're having some problems. We've got some feedback where some folks were missing that, but certainly unlikely to be you all. And then the other great thing that we have now is these are IUPUI specific values in terms of the recommended actions. So this really does reflect resources on our campus that you may suggest students seek out so that they can become more successful in your class. We've already talked administrative withdrawals. I want to mention that at the bottom of the roster, there is a place where you can add students who are attending your class who aren't registered for this term, and the only category of students that should be like that is if they're making up an incomplete. We should not be having a student sitting in a class that isn't enrolled and paying for the class, but this is there if they're making up an incomplete so that then you can still track them just like you did everyone else. After you've saved an assessment, this is what it looks like. This is what a student and an advisor sees in OneStart. So they've got all their course information at the bottom. They're saying irregular attendance, increased level of risk, meet with the instructor and meet with the advisor. We do have all of these reports available. I mean, we have a version of every potential report I think that anybody could even think of. So again, till we get that AdRec system where we think it needs to be, these reports are available, and now knowing that it's not what we hoped it'd be for this semester, we in the registrar's office now are now working on trying to push some of these out to the advisors to say, look, you need to start taking some action on this. Yeah.
Where are those available?
They're available to the folks in the units who are familiar with IUIE, the IU information environment. So in your unit, you've probably got someone who is your reporting person, your data person.
Not that I know of. That's why I'm asking.
So are you familiar with IUIE? The IU information?
I'm sure as heck gonna find that. Thank you.
Well, and we really will start pushing these out to the units, so that the main one is that the advisors need to be taking action on the students that you are flagging. And I think a lot of the advisors are doing that, through various mechanisms within their units. And I'm very, very aware of time here, Kate. Yes?
Just a quick question. Would it be appropriate, or maybe not, but at some point, if you're an instructor in a theme learning community, that you could take a quick look to see how your student is doing in all of their classes? Instead of just seeing what I've written for my student?
Well,
Because they're all part of a block.
certainly the advisors do that kind of function. The system is not set up for instructors to share, for there to be that kind of shared mechanism within the instructors.
Because we do it by email as much as we can, but sometimes I may just have a question about a student, and rather than emailing all my fellow instructors, it'd be nice to go see, what, did he miss, does that make sense?
Well, I will tell you, if you know that student's advisor, like if you can tell who their advisor is, the advisor would be able to say, oh yeah, he's been flagged in 3 different classes.
Yeah, it's just if they're university college and we're trying to get through to that, it's not that easy if you're trying to do it quickly.
I think student privacy allows them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's it.
We do it already. We talked about how they're doing in other classes. You're allowed to, for instructional reasons, you're allowed to know what they're
I
performing.
think you can go through a system and get a password to access that. But you have
No,
to
but
go-
not, you can access their grades, what I want to be able to do is
You
access
can't.
their.
You have to go through a certain thing to be able to get
To
to that.
see that, what am I,
And then final grade, do not, okay, I know we talk about student performance roster, don't forget those final grade rosters too. They're due 48 hours after your final exercise or exam. And I really want to point this out because this is so key in helping those students who need it. When you are doing your final grades, if you are assigning a student an F on merit, that's great. Well, that's not great, but I mean, fine, just sometimes we need to assign an F on merit. But if you're assigning an F because a student just quit attending 6 weeks ago, or if you've never seen that student, please, 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 please use these FN and FNN grades. Because sometimes students have got appeals. Something tragic happened and they just walked away from here. And if every faculty member says, yeah, I quit seeing them 8 weeks into the semester, that helps in that appeal process for that student. Because it's not, they might have been doing just fine until this horribly tragic, or a first-time student who the same thing happens and they think they get canceled because they haven't paid or something. If every faculty member puts FNN, that helps. We say, well, yep, every faculty member verifies this student was never on this campus seeing their class. So please use those grades when it comes to the final grade period. And here's your PUL roster stuff that's also on this presentation. And the main thing, one of the things I want to tell you here are great resources for hopefully any and all question that you have. And if you get to one of these and it doesn't answer one of your questions, please let us know, because we realize how busy you are, how much of this administrative stuff we rely on you for. So we really like to be able to provide anything and everything we can for you on any of these sites. And the flag site has a really detailed document if you want to go that far. Yeah?
Does the registrar do anything to help teachers with large lectures to take attendance? Because it's really hard to take attendance when we have classes that return our students. Is there any kind of recommendation besides printers? I know we're going to talk about printers, but anything else that has that been discussion at all, or?
No.
Okay.
Quite honestly, no. That's not that. Now, I know the clickers have kind of, in some places, come and gone, and people have different feelings about it. I think what's happening more and more in a lot of the large classes is a quick and early on-course, like an online learning management exercise, that you tell them, kind of log into this, and then you can tell whether people are engaged. But if you're talking a real face-to-face large, I know dear Kathy Mars talks about this all the time at the large classes. I don't think anyone, even in the outside professional world, has figured out a really good, effective way of taking attendance there. Swiping the card at the door, those kinds of things are a possibility, but I don't think, aside from some of that really simple technology, anybody's come up with a good way. which is really a terrible answer, but it's just true. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with anything on those reporting systems except for the PULs. You know, you give the grades, the A through F, and then you go through the PUL evaluation, and yeah, those that got an A they were very good. And the ones who get the F, no, they didn't get it. So I'm wondering, what do you do with that information, and why is it so redundant for us, especially when we have 200 people per class?
Yeah, well, that is an excellent question too. First of all, the PUL evaluation information is something that is a part of our accreditation process, going through like Trudy Banta's office and Gary Pike and IMIR. We provided the mechanism to collect it, but we really don't do anything with it. It doesn't stay on a student's permanent record. I will say though, I have a fantastic example of a big difference. I was in a graduate class when I was getting my master's degree, and we had to do a debate on logging in the Northwest. And I was on the debate team where I was supporting logging in the Northwest, and it was at a time when that was just politically just bad. But our team lost the debate, and Kurt Zorn was the professor, and he started talking about, data and how people got the data. The team that won the debate admitted they falsified a bunch of their stuff, and he said, what would make you feel like you can do that that's appropriate? And they said, because we should not be logging in the Northwest. So they so believed in that they falsified the data. So they might have gotten a great grade in the class, but when it comes to morals and ethics, if that was part of that class, maybe they had something to learn there. So
What part of the PULs address morals and ethics?
well, there's like six principles, and one of them is, yeah. I hear you though. I mean, I do. Yeah, Sarah.
In the ideal world, if you're saying that A is, I think it's the very, do you do
Very
attendance?